Once again, you already know what it is, and you already know where you have reached the number one up and coming professional wrestling podcast anywhere in the world. My name is Sean Hubbard. What up, though? And this is Hubbard Wrestling Weekly presents HUBBanomics Superstar Profiles Volume 11. Keeping the momentum going. It's Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. I hope you guys had a wonderful 4th of July holiday and weekend. Kept it safe, kept it fun. That's what it's all about. But we're going to keep this Hubbard Wrestling Weekly HUBBanomics thing rolling. 20 minutes or less, superstar profiles. Make sure you check out Clash of the Podcasts each and every Monday night, 6:05 Eastern Standard Time on the EPW channel. Let's get the ball rolling. 20 minutes or less right here. Superstar profiles, and tonight we are going to talk about the new TNT heavyweight champion in All Elite Wrestling. His name is Jack Perry. Now, as we roll right into this thing, we got to think back about Jack Perry's earlier career in AEW. Obviously, we know the lineage, we know the bloodline, for lack of better terms. The son of the late Luke Perry of 90210 fame. Rest in peace to him. And Jack Perry wanted to make a name for himself, so he became the man known as Jungle Boy, teaming up and becoming a World Tag Team Champion and, a bit of a fan favorite. I think everybody kind of liked Jungle Boy for what he was, but you could always see that there was a little bit more potential in this kid than what met the eye when he was teaming up with Luchasaurus and the Jurassic Express. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room, because we all know what got us to here and now, July 9, 2024. And that is the backstage issue that took place between he and now WWE superstar CM Punk. There's been a lot of dejection and a lot of talk about who was at fault. Obviously, Tony Khan has some improvements he needs to make as it relates to his management style. Obviously, we know that, I think Jack Perry was probably a little bit inappropriate in the way he handled the situation. Probably CM Punk was a little bit inappropriate too. There's enough blame to go around. The bottom line is what happened last August at All In Wembley Stadium should not have happened, and it led to a lot of chips falling, a lot of dominoes going down the table, or whatever analogy or figure of speech you want to use. It certainly is one of those things that you look at and say, I wish this had not have happened. But it did. It did. And that led to some very interesting verbiage. Like I said, backstage fight with CM Punk. How much of a fight it was, we saw on the tape. It wasn't really a fight, but it was definitely a scuffle that came from Jack Perry making a comment about the plate glass window of the car, whatever the case may be, during the pre-show of All In, where CM Punk was about to pull up for his match with Samoa Joe for the, the CM Punk version of the AEW World title. That's not important. And, they had some words in the back and, threw some hands and pushed and shoved. And, it led to CM Punk being, quote unquote, fired or let go, whatever the case may have been, by Tony Khan, and led to one of the biggest returns to WWE in history in November of 2023 when CM Punk returned at the Survivor Series. But the part that'll surprise you about my take on Jack Perry is that I got to say, I think that AEW, for all the mistakes they have made, I think AEW, first and foremost, is a good product. I've said it on Clash of the Podcast in the past. Make sure you check out Clash of the Podcast every Monday night, 6:05 Eastern Standard Time, with my tag team partner, Conrad Cushman. I think AEW has the best in-ring talent in the world today. Point blank, period. And when you think about in-ring talent, and when you think about the world of professional wrestling, you have to talk about the elite. Now, take the political stuff aside, put it aside that they're EVPs or whatever their titles are. Look, I know this may not be a popular opinion, but the Young Bucks are still one of the best tag teams in the world today, and they are the current AEW World Tag Team Champions. You got to talk about Okada being one of the greatest New Japan professional wrestlers or professional wrestlers, period, in the world. He's currently carrying the gold in AEW as well. And now Jack Perry, as of a couple months ago, is now a member of the Elite and is now the new AEW champion, AEW TNT heavyweight champion, as he won the ladder match most recently at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. You'll be surprised. I actually think Jack Perry is doing a good job. We all know his gimmick about being the scapegoat. Obviously, that's a play on words as it relates to the CM Punk situation. He debuted the scapegoat gimmick in New Japan, and now he's back in AEW. We know that he beat up Tony Khan, kayfabe, where Tony Khan wore that ridiculous neck brace during the NFL draft. I know Nick Khan is... I know he's trying. He's doing his best to to do what he has to do to put over his company. God bless him. Excuse me, I said Nick Khan. I meant to say Tony Khan. Tony Khan's doing the best he can do to put over his company. You know, he wore that ridiculous neck brace, but it is what it is. But the point I'm trying to make is that Jack Perry has made the best of this situation. This persona of the scapegoat, this persona of being part of the Elite, being somewhat of a, leather coat wearing punk, whatever you want to call it. The dude is coming to play. I don't think that anybody would disagree that he should not have won that ladder match, that wasn't the best decision that AEW and Tony Khan could have made to make him the new TNT champion. By the way, big shout out to Edge, Adam Copeland, get well soon, the former TNT champion who had to give up the title due to injury. But when you think about what he was doing before, I mean, the Luchasaurus thing with Jurassic Express, yes, they were World Tag Team Champions. Yes, he was moderately over. I mean, he even did pretty well with the FTW Championship as well. But coming back from suspension, you got to admit, man, this dude, from the time he turned heel on June 25th at Forbidden Door last year, I believe it was, after losing the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match to Sonata, since that time, this dude has become a household name. Let's call a spade a spade. He has become a household name. And at the end of the day, you can't take anything from him. I believe that was 2001 that he made the change. 2021, I should say, he made the change. This current incarnation of Jack Perry has potential. And it has far more potential than that tag team guy he used to be. I'm just saying, he has shown up and he has shown out. And I just want to be clear about the stats here. It was definitely a couple years back where he fought Sonata for the IWGP Championship. He was unsuccessful, and after the match, he turned heel, and I loved it. I loved it when he turned on Hook. I loved when he made it clear that he was going to stand on his own 2 feet. And then when you figure in what happened later with the whole situation that took place at Wembley Stadium, you talk about making a bad situation into something good. See, we could all take our time knocking Tony Khan for the mistakes that he's made or the lack of leadership that he's shown as it relates to being a disciplinarian with his wrestlers. And yes, he probably needs to hire a chief of staff or somebody like that, an executive director or somebody that can be in charge of security or in charge of interpersonal relations as it relates to the wrestlers and the staff of AEW. But regardless, as from a storyline perspective, I don't think they could have got it more right. They've knocked this thing out of the park. Because I'll tell you one thing, Jungle Boy would not be the TNT champion. Jungle Boy was not TNT championship, singles championship material. And even when he broke away from being Jungle Boy. You can see him starting to break away from it, and he started calling himself Jungle Boy Jack Perry. He was unsuccessful in that IWGP Championship match at Forbidden Door, and he turned on Hook, and I loved it, and it showed the world, hey, listen, I'm here to play. I'm here to play, and I'm not going to sit up here and be disrespected. He turned on Hook. He challenged for the FTW Championship. He became the FTW Champion and became the first man in 2022 when he won that title to defeat Hook, who was on an undefeated streak at the time. So at the end of the day, you can't say that it's an unsuccessful situation. And this TNT Championship reign, I believe, is going to be for a long, long time. And his run with the Elite is going to be for a long, long time. This kid has potential. I know it rose from the Phoenix from an ugly situation. I'm not saying that Jack Perry's the best professional. I'm not saying that Jack Perry's the most upstanding employee. But when you talk about, as we like to say, turning chicken you-know-what into chicken salad, this situation has turned itself around. This TNT Championship reign looks very believable to me. And now he's going to go into blood and guts pretty soon on AEW Dynamite with the rest of the Elite. I predict they'll be victorious. And then from there, he's going to Wembley Stadium, and I believe he's going to successfully defend the TNT Championship against whoever he faces. Because this kid has turned the corner. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to comment about this in the comments and let me know what you think. Sometimes changes in persona in wrestling are happy accidents. Now, don't jump all over me. I am not comparing Jack Perry to Stone Cold Steve Austin, okay? Let me say it again for the people in the back. I am not comparing Jack Perry to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm just simply making a point via example. In 1996, Stone Cold Steve Austin was not supposed to win the King of the Ring. He was not. Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, was supposed to win the King of the Ring. And because of the situation that took place at Madison Square Garden, the curtain call, Triple H had to pay some dues and was not allowed to win King of the Ring until the following year. So Stone Cold ended up being the guy to win King of the Ring. And by the way, another fun fact for you. Stone Cold Steve Austin was privy to Jake the Snake Roberts' religious promos just a few seconds before he walked out for the finals match at King of the Ring 96, which gave him the idea to come up with Austin 316. So if Triple H had never gotten in trouble, or if whoever was backstage, Bruce Pritchard or Michael P.S. Hayes, didn't tell Stone Cold about Jake the Snake Roberts' religious promo while Stone Cold was in the hospital getting stitches put in his mouth from his first round match against Mark Merrow, we would have never had Austin 316. And yes, Stone Cold would have won the King of the Ring that night, but we don't know where it would have went from there. We don't know if Stone Cold would end up being arguably the greatest professional wrestler, most popular professional wrestler of all time. We don't know that. Now, what am I comparing? I'm talking about Jack Perry. Again, no, there's no comparison between he and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but the situations and the parallels in the situations do make sense. Had Jack Perry never had that incident with CM Punk, had Jack Perry never become the scapegoat, quote unquote, about that situation, would Jack Perry be the TNT champion right now? And as much as we don't like to acknowledge the Elite because we feel like the Elite has kind of run its course, especially with the absence of Kenny Omega, get well soon. As much as we kind of scoff at the Elite are still one of the most prominent factions in all of professional wrestling. That name still carries weight. And now he's a part of the Elite. Would Jack Perry, would Jungle Boy have been a part of the Elite Would Jungle Boy be a man holding up a title as a member of the Elite if he didn't have that situation with CM Punk? I don't think so. And I want us to start giving Tony Khan a little bit more credit. Yes, he needs some managerial training as it relates to the discipline of his athletes. Yes, he needs to figure out better ways to handle situations like what took place in Wembley Stadium. But from a storyline perspective, what's taken place with Jack Perry over the past 12 to 18 months has been nothing short of extraordinary. Take your dislike of the situation that took place in Wembley Stadium out of it. Take your love for CM Punk out of it. Just look at it strictly from an in-ring storyline perspective. Jack Perry has never been better. That's why I said at the start of the show, my take on tonight's episode of HUBBanomics was going to surprise you. From strictly a wrestling, I'm not talking about him as a human being. I'm not talking about him in his professional behavior. I'm talking about him as a wrestler, period. Storyline, period. Jack Perry has never been better. He is now one of the most prominent groups in the history of professional wrestling, and he is now a champion, a singles champion in the second biggest professional wrestling organization in the world. Those are two indisputable facts. And I look forward to seeing what happens into the future. You know he's going to be part of Team Elite going into Blood and Guts. Make sure you check out Conrad and my guy Derek as they do their review of that Blood and Guts episode of Dynamite and all episodes of Dynamite, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the EPW channel. Always look at it from that perspective. We have to look at it from like, listen, forget the circumstances that got you here. You're here. And now Jack Perry is having the biggest run of his career. And you got to give Tony Khan some credit for that. And you have to give Jack Perry some credit for that, for the execution of this storyline. Once again, turning chicken you-know-what into chicken salad. And we only can speculate and think about what's going to happen from here. But all I can say is that young man has come a long way from being Jungle Boy. He's come a long way from, he's come a long way from that. That is a distant memory. This kid is here to play. And this kid is here to make an impact on the world of professional wrestling. And all hate and all skepticism aside, he's doing it. He's doing it. Will it continue? Only time will tell. But that man is about to walk into Wembley Stadium next month as the TNT heavyweight champion in front of 100,000 people. And he's probably going to retain that title for quite some time. So, all I got to say is, look, people are not always the best as it pertains to their character in real life. I don't know Jack Perry. Jack Perry doesn't know me. It doesn't seem like he's carried himself very well in this CM Punk situation. All I'm saying is, from everything that went left as it relates to that CM Punk situation, you got to give Tony Khan and Jack Perry a little bit of credit for what they've changed this situation and what they've changed this narrative into. You went from a real ugly situation to a pretty darn good heel who holds a championship in your company. So, with that being said, this is HUBBanomics episode 11. Make sure you check out myself and Conrad 605 on Monday night. Make sure you check out my upcoming SummerSlam preview show. All that and a lot more coming up on Hubbard Wrestling Weekly and Clash of the Podcast. So I'm out of here, y'all. God bless. Be encouraged. Evil never prevails. Peace.